Hi. So I'm going to talk about my birth. I just had a baby 5 weeks ago, and for those who don't know my story, this was pregnancy number 8 or 9. I've lost count. I have had a lot of losses. I lost 3 babies before I had my son, and 2 before my daughter, and then we thought I might have was like pregnant before after my daughter, and it turned out I wasn't. So then I had this prodigal baby that is in my arms right now that is nursing. And with my first rainbow baby, because that's what when you lose a baby after you have a successful one, they're called rainbows. And so my first rainbow baby was a medical birth at a hospital, and I wanted to go in naturally for it, but it didn't happen. I had the baby vaginally, but I had all of the things, the epidural, Pitocin, everything, and it wasn't what I wanted. Breastfeeding didn't even go that well. Again, I didn't have all this education. There's so much resources out there, and I didn't know about it. And then my second, I took a birthing class. I had a doula. I had a natural birth at a hospital. I was planning on having a water birth, and then in the middle of labor, worst time ever, they said I couldn't have a water birth because I had gestational diabetes and I was on medication. I could have had it with gestational diabetes if I wasn't on medication. But so I wasn't happy with that. Breastfeeding went really well, though. I got help. We had tongue and lip tie. We got that fixed. I nursed until she was 20 months old. But I still wanted my water birth. I started a business. I've been running a home daycare, and I was not planning on having a baby right away. And then I got pregnant with this little girl, and I was like, okay, I'm going to figure out how to make this work with my daycare. It's going to be really rough because it's a lot of work to run your own business. But I had her. I made sure I had enough staff members so I could be on a leave, and I have. And so what? This pregnancy alone, I had some scares. Sorry, I got to take care of this. Anyways, so first off, at 11 weeks, we found fluid in her neck. And they said that this could be a sign that she's going to have special needs, or she's going to have some problems, health problems, heart problems. And so I did a genetic test, found out she was fine, watched her, we did some extra ultrasounds, did an echo, and her heart was fine. But they were still worried that maybe after birth she was going to have heart problems. And then after that, I started getting some back problems, and I started having to go on bed rest a little early. And then we had a little scare that I had preeclampsia too. I passed the gestational diabetes test, but we had all these scares, and I was having all these back problems, and I was just so done. So the week before I had her, it was a full moon, and I was laboring for hours and hours and hours, did spinning babies, and it just stopped. And I was really upset. And then after that, I started having what's called abdominal labor, where I'd labor for hours, and then stop. Labor for hours, and then it stopped. And it was just the worst thing ever. And I was getting adjusted, and we were making sure she was in a good position. And overall, she was. So the day I went into labor, I felt like something was different. I was like, things feel a little bit different. I was having a break. There was no contraction, so it was like a calm before the storm type thing. And went in for my midwife appointment, checking out, everything was looking fine. Went to the chiropractor, and she's like, I am not adjusting you. Everything's looking good. And shortly after that, contractions started picking up. And it was feeling different, and I was having this feeling like it was time. But I was still nervous. I was like, I've had too much abdominal labor. I don't want to have my hopes up. So then we tried things like intimacy, and then right after we tried things to see if it would stop it. So those things, if you're absolutely ready, they will push you into labor. If they're not, they will stop it. So we tried all those things that would induce labor, and right after, immediately, they were just like that. They were like every 2 minutes apart. And I'm messaging my doula. My husband went and got me more food. I ate my food. My doula came, and she was watching me for a little bit, and then she's like, okay, it's time to go. And we go, and we're in the van. I was very uncomfortable. I was laying back, and that's when probably the baby moved, because then it started having contractions, and then it stopped. Having contractions, and then it stopped. having contractions and it stopped. And I started going, am I in labor? Do I need to go back home? But I didn't want to tell anyone this. Like, I was having these thoughts of, what is going on? This is like, I'm having contractions and then they're stopping. I'm having this urge to push, but then, and I was just not sure what was going on. And I, even in the tub, I self-checked myself and I was like, I don't think I'm that even opened. And so I was like, what is going on? Am I in labor? And I just didn't want to tell anyone. And I think that's where my flaw was, of lack of communication. Because, like, I was afraid to do spinning babies because I was like, honestly, last time I did spinning babies, it stopped it. And so I didn't really exactly want to stop all these contractions because I was already here at the birthing center. But I kind of wish I did. And then when I finally said I was tired and I was done, she was like, okay, well, we can try things. And that's when we... Oh, baby's struggling. Baby has a bubble. Yeah. Anyways, that's when we broke my water. And things were more intense, a lot more intense. They still were contractions break. They were not still consistent. So then she finally checked me again where she stuck her hands up to feel the baby. And I thought it would hurt. It didn't hurt at all. But that's when we found out that baby came down crooked. She didn't even come down straight. And she was really high up before I broke my water. So, I mean, breaking the water, I don't think it was a bad idea. But I wondered if we did spinning babies and then broke my water, if that would have been better. But, again, we have no control over that. So, we did spinning babies. And immediately, and this was like a few hours after, but immediately the contractions just stuck. And it was not even a break. It was a push contraction. It was just immediate, strong, intense of, I need to push, and there was no break. Because usually when I had the pushing, it'd be like a wave, but it would be like, start going down, and then, oh, here comes another contraction. There was no break. It was an immediate, long, she says I pushed for 10 minutes. So 10-minute contraction, like I said, there was no stopping. There was no break. It was immediate urge, and it was very strong. And even when my water broke with this, my second child, there was still like these waves. And like I said, this was just a until baby came out. And I didn't want to push, but I did, and it helped. And I didn't even have to push that hard. I mean, I didn't even really tear with her. The other two I tore. But the total labor ended up being over a little over, if you count from home, from my early labor, it was a total of 12 hours, and it was rough. And it was exhausting. It was really hard. Especially like after that, delivering the placenta didn't want to come out. Normally I've just coughed and the placenta comes out. And I tried coughing and the placenta didn't come out. I had to actually push. Like there's a picture of me going, ugh! Like I was really having to push real hard. But overall, I love the birthing center. I delivered in the water. I got the birth that I wanted, and I'm so happy with it. I loved, even with this COVID-19, all of my team was there. My birthing photographer, my husband, my doula, my family member / friend, my midwife, and her assistant midwife. And I had all this love and support, and I love it. And it was a wonderful birth, especially with COVID-19, and it was much needed, and I got everything I wanted. It was a hard birth, but I wouldn't have it anywhere. I would have not had it in a hospital or anything like that. And even though she came out real purple and her neck was, the umbilical cord was wrapped around her neck real tight, I was happy to have it where it was. Everything was handled really great. And I mean, we're nursing. She's healthy. She's growing. And overall, I'm doing really good. It's been a little more rough recovery, but I've had so many pregnancies and everything, my body is just done. I won't be able to have any more kids, and it's bittersweet, but I'm still happy with my birth, and I hope other women out there know that you can have everything you want, even with COVID-19. You just have to find their good provider, and I'm really glad I found mine, because she accommodated so much for me, and she helped me, and even though I didn't tell them that things were not being consistent, I was questioning, I was in labor, they really could read me, and they kept reassuring me that I was doing this. And I'm really grateful for it.